What happens when Hollywood's most respected leading man walks onto a talk show set and refuses to play by the rules? What happens when a host known for her warmth and authenticity gets pushed too far by a guest who won't back down? Today, we're diving into one of the most shocking moments in daytime television history. A clash so intense that it ended with security escorting a legend off the stage. Before we get into it, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below telling me whose side you're on in this whole situation. Trust me, you're going to have a strong opinion by the end of this. The cameras were rolling, the audience was settled, and Kelly Clarkson walked onto her stage with that signature smile that has made her one of the most beloved hosts on television. Her guest for the day was Kevin Costner, a man who needs no introduction. An actor whose career has spanned decades from westerns to dramas to action films that define generations. The audience erupted in applause as he walked out, waving to the crowd with that easy confidence he's always carried. Kelly greeted him with a hug, and they both took their seats as the applause died down. Kelly leaned forward, her energy bright and welcoming. "So, Kevin, it's so great to have you here. I've been a fan for years, and I know everyone here has too. You've got so much going on right now. New projects, new ventures. Let's talk about what you're working on." Kevin smiled, but there was something measured in it. Something that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Well, Kelly, I appreciate that. You know, I'm always working on something. That's just who I am. I don't really stop." Kelly nodded enthusiastically. "I love that about you. You're one of those people who just keeps pushing forward, no matter what. But I have to ask because I think a lot of people are curious. There's been a lot of talk lately about some of the choices you've made in your career, some of the projects that maybe didn't go the way people expected. Do you ever look back and think about what you might have done differently?" The question hung in the air for a moment. Kevin's expression shifted just slightly, a tightening around his eyes that only someone paying close attention would notice. He sat back in his chair, crossing one leg over the other. "You know, Kelly, that's an interesting question. I think what you're really asking is whether I have regrets. And the short answer is no. I don't do regrets. Every choice I made for a reason. Some of them worked out the way I hoped. Some of them didn't. But I don't sit around wishing I'd done things differently." Kelly sensed the slight edge in his tone, but pressed forward, keeping her smile in place. "No, I totally get that. I'm not saying you should have regrets. I'm just saying that, sometimes things don't work out, and it's okay to acknowledge that. Like, I think about some of my own choices and I can say, yeah, maybe I would have approached that differently. It doesn't mean I regret it. It just means I learned from it." Kevin's jaw tightened. "Well, maybe that's the difference between us, Kelly. I don't need to learn from things by admitting I was wrong. I learn by moving forward. I don't spend time in interviews dissecting my past like it's some kind of therapy session." The audience went quiet. Kelly blinked, clearly caught off guard by the sharpness in his voice. She laughed lightly, trying to ease the tension. "Okay. Wow. I wasn't trying to make this a therapy session, Kevin. I was just asking a question. That's kind of what we do on talk shows." Kevin didn't laugh. He stared at her, his expression flat. "Right. Talk shows where hosts ask questions they already know the answers to just to get a reaction, just to create a moment that people will talk about online. Is that what this is?" Kelly's smile faltered completely now. Her voice took on a firmer tone. "No, Kevin, that's not what this is. I asked questions because I'm genuinely interested in my guests and their stories. If you felt like that question was unfair, I'm sorry, but I don't think it was. I think it was a pretty standard question for someone in your position." Kevin leaned forward, his voice low but intense. "My position? What position is that, Kelly?" "The position of someone who's been in this industry longer than you've been alive. The position of someone who's built a career on making choices that matter. Not just chasing trends or trying to stay relevant by pandering to whatever the audience wants to hear." The air in the studio had changed completely. What started as a light, friendly interview had turned into something else entirely. Kelly's face flushed, but she held her ground. "You know what, Kevin? I've been nothing but respectful to you since you walked out here. I invited you onto my show because I admire your work, and I thought we could have a good conversation. But if you're going to sit here and insult me, insult what I do, then maybe we need to take a different approach. Kevin stood up, his microphone still clipped to his jacket. A different approach. What approach is that, Kelly? You want me to sit here and smile and nod and tell some cute little anecdotes about my childhood so everyone feels good? That's not who I am. I came here to talk about my work, not to be psychoanalyzed by someone who thinks they know me because they watched a few of my movies. Kelly stood up as well, her voice rising. I never said I knew you, Kevin. I asked you one question. One question. And you turned it into this whole thing. If you can't handle a basic interview question without getting defensive, then maybe the problem isn't with me. The audience was dead silent now. Producers were moving behind the cameras, unsure whether to cut or keep rolling. Kevin looked at Kelly, then at the audience, then back at Kelly. His voice was cold when he spoke again. You know what? You're right. Maybe I can't handle it. Maybe I'm done handling it. I've spent my entire career dealing with people who think they have the right to pick apart every decision I've made, every project I've chosen, every relationship I've had, and I'm tired of it. I'm tired of sitting in chairs like this one, being judged by people who've never had to make the kinds of choices I've had to make. Kelly's voice was shaking now, but she kept her composure. Then why did you agree to come on the show, Kevin? If this is so beneath you, if I'm so beneath you, why are you even here? Kevin pulled the microphone off his jacket and set it on the chair. Because I thought maybe, just maybe, this would be different. But it's not. It's the same thing it always is. So I'm done. He started walking toward the side of the stage. Kelly called after him, her voice sharp. So, that's it. You're just going to walk off? Kevin stopped and turned back to face her. Yeah, Kelly, that's it. Kelly stood there, microphone still in hand, watching Kevin Costner walk away from her stage. But she wasn't done. Her voice cut through the silent studio like a knife. You know what, Kevin? Go ahead and walk. That's what people do when they can't defend themselves. They walk away and pretend it's about principle. Kevin stopped dead in his tracks. The audience gasped. He turned slowly, and the look on his face was something nobody in that room had ever seen from him before. Pure, unfiltered anger. He walked back toward the center of the stage, stopping just a few feet from where Kelly stood. Defend myself. From what exactly? From you? From this? He gestured broadly at the studio, at the cameras, at the audience. You think I need to defend myself to you? Kelly didn't back down. She took a step closer to him. When you come on to someone's show and disrespect them, yeah, I think you need to defend that. You don't get to just throw insults around and then walk away like you're above it all. You agreed to be here. You knew what a talk show was when you accepted the invitation. Kevin laughed, but there was no humor in it. A talk show, right? Let me tell you what a talk show really is, Kelly. It's a platform where hosts pretend to care about their guests while really just mining them for content. You ask leading questions. You push buttons. You try to get people to say something controversial so you can get your viral moment. And then you act surprised when someone calls you out on it. Kelly's face went red. That is not what I do. I have built this show on genuine conversations with people. I care about every single person who sits in that chair. And the fact that you would reduce what I do to some kind of cynical game shows exactly what kind of person you are. Kevin Unk's voice dropped lower, more dangerous. What kind of person I am? You don't know anything about what kind of person I am. You know what you've read in tabloids and what you've heard from other people. You know the version of me that exists in headlines, but you don't know me. Then tell me, Kelly shot back. Tell me who you are, Kevin. Because right now, all I'm seeing is someone who can dish it out but can't take it. Someone who's so wrapped up in their own legend that they can't handle one simple question about their career. Kevin's hands clenched at his sides. You want to know who I am? Fine. I'm someone who has given everything to this industry. I've put my heart, my soul, my entire life into making films that mean something. I've taken risks that could have ended my career a dozen times over. I've stood up for projects that nobody else believed in because I believed in them. And yeah, some of them failed. Some of them crashed and burned. But I don't apologize for trying. I don't apologize for caring enough to fail. Kelly's expression softened slightly, but her voice remained firm. Nobody's asking you to apologize for failing, Kevin. But you can't act like asking about those experiences is some kind of attack. That's what interviews are. We talk about the highs and the lows. We talk about the journey. That's what makes people interesting. Kevin shook his head.
No, Kelly.
What makes people interesting is what they create, not how they feel about what they created. I'm not a feelings guy. I'm not going to sit here and get emotional about projects that didn't work out the way I wanted them to. That's not who I am. And I'm not going to pretend to be someone else just because that's what sells on daytime television. The audience was riveted now, completely silent, every eye fixed on the two people on stage, locked in this battle of wills. Kelly crossed her arms.
So, what are you saying?
That I'm fake? That everything I do here is just an act? Kevin met her eyes directly. I'm saying that you play a role just like everyone else in this business. You're the warm, relatable host who cries at touching stories and laughs at silly anecdotes. And maybe that's really you. I don't know. But when you ask questions designed to make people vulnerable, designed to get them to open up about things they might not want to talk about, you're doing it for a reason. And that reason is ratings. Kelly's voice rose again. You think I don't care about the people who come on this show? You think I'm just using them for ratings? I have had people sit in that chair and share the most painful, beautiful, complicated parts of their lives with me. And I have honored every single one of those moments. What you're describing isn't me, Kevin. Maybe it's what you think all talk show hosts are, but it's not who I am. Kevin laughed again. That same bitter, humorless laugh. Okay, Kelly, if you say so. But let me ask you something. When you asked me that question about my choices, about looking back and doing things differently, what were you hoping I would say? Were you hoping I'd get emotional? Were you hoping I'd admit to some regret, some failure, something that would make people feel something? Kelly hesitated for just a fraction of a second, and Kevin saw it. He pointed at her. There it is. You did want that. You wanted me to give you something real, something raw. And when I wouldn't, when I didn't play along, you got upset. Kelly's voice was shaking with anger now. I got upset because you insulted me. You insulted my show. You insulted my intentions, and you did it in front of all these people who came here to have a good time. They didn't come here to watch you have a meltdown because you couldn't handle a question about your career. Kevin's face darkened. A meltdown? You think this is a meltdown? This is me being honest, Kelly. This is me not playing the game. And if that makes you uncomfortable, if that makes your audience uncomfortable, then maybe they shouldn't have invited me here in the first place. A producer appeared at the edge of the stage trying to signal to Kelly, but she ignored him. She stepped even closer to Kevin, her voice low but intense. You don't get to do this. You don't get to come onto my stage, insult me, insult what I do, and then act like you're the victim here. You're not the victim, Kevin. You're just someone who can't handle being treated like everyone else. Kevin's voice was ice cold. Treated like everyone else? I've been in this industry for over 40 years, Kelly. I've won awards. I've made classics. I've done things that most people only dream about. And you want to treat me like I'm just another guest on your little daytime show, like I'm some reality star or influencer looking for exposure. Kelly's eyes flashed. Everyone who comes on this show gets treated with respect, Kevin. From the biggest stars to people nobody's ever heard of. That's what I do. I respect people, but respect goes both ways. And you lost mine the second you decided that you were too good to answer a simple question. Kevin took a step back, shaking his head slowly. You know what, Kelly? You're right about one thing. Respect does go both ways, and I don't respect what you're doing here. I don't respect the way you conduct these interviews. The way you try to dig into people's lives like you have some right to their inner thoughts. So, yeah, I'm done. I'm walking off your show, and I'm not coming back. Kelly's voice was steel.
Good.
Walk off. But before you go, let me tell you something. In all the years I've been doing this show, I have never ever had a guest act the way you're acting right now. I've had people disagree with me. I've had difficult conversations, but I've never had someone be this disrespectful. So when you walk out of here, you remember that this wasn't about me asking a hard question. This was about you not being able to handle being challenged. Kevin stared at Kelly for a long moment, his jaw working like he was grinding his teeth. Then he spoke and his voice was quieter than before, but somehow more intense. Challenged? You think that's what this is? Let me tell you something about being challenged, Kelly. Being challenged is standing in front of a studio executive and telling them their vision for your film is wrong. Being challenged is putting your own money into a project because nobody else believes in it. Being challenged is directing a 4-hour Western epic when everyone says it's commercial suicide. That's being challenged. This is just someone with a microphone trying to make themselves feel important. Kelly's hands were trembling now, but her voice stayed strong. You keep talking about everything you've done, everything you've sacrificed, like it gives you the right to treat people however you want. But it doesn't, Kevin. Your accomplishments don't give you permission to be cruel. They don't give you permission to come into my house because that's what this is. This is my house. And tear me down because you're feeling defensive. Kevin Unk's voice rose.
Defensive?
You started this, Kelly. You asked the question. You pushed the button. And now you're upset because I'm not giving you the answer you wanted. You're upset because I won't perform for you. Kelly threw her hands up. I'm upset because you're being in Kevin. There, I said it. You want honesty? There's your honesty. You're sitting here, acting like you're some kind of artist who's too pure for the dirty business of publicity. But you know what? You showed up. You came here. You agreed to do this interview. So don't pretend like you're above it all when you chose to be here. The word hung in the air between them. The audience let out a collective gasp. Kevin's face went pale, then flushed red. When he spoke, his voice was shaking. You know what, Kelly? You just proved my point. This whole nice girl act, this whole kind and caring host routine, it's exactly that, a routine. Because the second someone doesn't play along, the second someone challenges you back, the real Kelly comes out. And the real Kelly apparently talks to her guests like they're garbage. Kelly's eyes were blazing. Now, the real Kelly is someone who stands up for herself. The real Kelly doesn't let someone walk all over her just because they're famous. And yeah, maybe I shouldn't have said that word, but you know what? I'm human. I'm a human being who's been standing here for the last 10 minutes being insulted and degraded by someone I invited onto my show out of genuine admiration. So, excuse me if I'm not perfect, Kevin pointed at her, his fingers shaking. See, that's the difference between us. I never pretended to be perfect. I never sold myself as this beacon of positivity and light. But you built your whole brand on being America's sweetheart. And now everyone's seeing that it's just an image, just like everything else in this industry. Kelly's voice cracked slightly, but she pushed through. You don't know anything about me or my brand. You don't know what it's like to be a woman in this industry, to have to be warm and likable and perfect all the time. Because the second you're not, the second you show any real emotion, you're called difficult or unstable. You don't know what it's like to build something from nothing and have people constantly questioning whether you deserve it. So, don't you dare stand there and tell me what my brand is. Kevin Unk's expression shifted slightly. Something flickering across his face that might have been recognition, but he pushed it away. Everyone's got struggles, Kelly. Everyone's fighting battles, but most of us don't use them as excuses for bad behavior. Kelly let out a short, sharp laugh. Bad behavior? That's rich coming from you. What do you call what you've been doing for the past 15 minutes? You've done nothing but attack me. Attack my show. Attack everything I do.
And why?
Because I asked you about your career. Because I wanted to have an actual conversation instead of just letting you plug whatever project you're working on. Kevin's voice went cold again. I told you from the start I don't do the feeling thing. I don't do the looking back and analyzing and sharing my inner thoughts thing. But you kept pushing. You kept trying to get me to go there. And when I wouldn't, you acted like I was the problem. Kelly shook her head, and there were tears in her eyes now, though her voice stayed firm. You are the problem, Kevin. You're the problem because you can't see past your own ego long enough to have a normal human interaction. You can't see that maybe, just maybe, people aren't out to get you. That maybe I really did just want to talk to you about your life and your work because I find you interesting. But you took that and turned it into this whole conspiracy theory about ratings and viral moments and whatever else you've convinced yourself is happening. Kevin looked at her. Really looked at her, and for a moment something seemed to crack in his armor. But then he shook his head. I can't do this. I can't stand here and keep going in circles with you. We're not going to agree.
We're not going to see eye to eye.
So I'm leaving. He turned and started walking toward the edge of the stage again. This time, Kelly didn't call after him. She just stood there, wiping her eyes, watching him go. But then, a security guard appeared, stepping into Kevin's path. The guard spoke quietly, but the microphones picked it up. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to come with me." Kevin stopped, looking at the guard with disbelief.
Excuse me.
The guard's voice was calm, but firm. "We need you to leave the premises, sir. This way, please." Kevin looked back at Kelly, who was standing with her arms crossed. Her face a mask of controlled emotion. "Are you serious right now? You're having me escorted out by security." Kelly's voice was quiet but clear. "You said you were leaving, Kevin. I'm just making sure you do." Kevin Bunk's face went through about 6 different emotions in 3 seconds. Then, he turned to the guard. "Fine, let's go. I wouldn't stay in this place another second if you paid me." The guard gestured toward the side exit, and Kevin walked that way, his shoulders tight, his whole body radiating anger. As he reached the edge of the stage, he turned back one more time. "You know what, Kelly? You just made a huge mistake.
People are going to hear about this.
Everyone's going to know what really happened here today." Kelly's voice was steady. "Good. Let them know. Let them know that someone finally stood up to you. Let them know that your reputation doesn't give you the right to treat people like they're beneath you." "I'm not afraid of the truth, Kevin. Are you?" Kevin didn't answer. He just shook his head and walked off the stage. The security guard close behind him. The audience sat in stunned silence, not sure whether to applaud or stay quiet. Kelly stood there for a moment, visibly shaking, then turned to face the cameras. Her voice was raw when she spoke.
"I'm sorry you all had to see that. I really am."
That's not what any of us expected today. But sometimes things don't go the way we plan. Sometimes people surprise us, and not always in good ways. She took a breath, composing herself. "I started this show because I wanted to create a space where people could have real conversations, where we could talk about the things that matter and connect with each other in genuine ways. And I still believe in that. I still believe that most people, when you treat them with respect and kindness, will give that back to you. But every once in a while, you meet someone who's so caught up in their own narrative that they can't see anything else. And that's what happened here today." Kelly walked back to her chair and sat down, running her hands through her hair. The cameras were still rolling, capturing every moment. "You know, the thing that gets me is that I really did admire him. I grew up watching his movies. I've seen almost everything he's ever made. And I was genuinely excited to talk to him. I had questions prepared about his process, about his influences, about the things he's passionate about. But we never got there. We never got past that first question because he decided that I was his enemy." She looked directly at the camera. "If you're watching this, Kevin, and I hope you're not, because honestly, you've taken up enough of my energy today.
I want you to know something.
I don't think you're a bad person. I think you're someone who's been hurt by this industry, who's been burned enough times that you don't trust anyone anymore, and I get that. I really do. But that doesn't give you the right to hurt other people preemptively. That doesn't give you the right to assume the worst about everyone you meet." Kelly stood up again, addressing the studio audience. "I'm going to take a quick break. We're going to regroup, and when we come back, we'll continue with the rest of the show, because that's what we do here. We keep going. We don't let one bad moment define us. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your patience." The cameras cut, and Kelly walked off stage, surrounded by her producers and staff. The audience slowly started talking among themselves, processing what they'd just witnessed. Nobody could quite believe what had just happened. One of Hollywood's biggest stars had just been kicked off a daytime talk show, and the whole thing had been captured on camera. So, there you have it. One of the most intense, uncomfortable, and shocking moments in talk show history. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and drop a comment below. Here's my question for you. Who do you think was in the wrong here? Was Kelly out of line with her question, or was Kevin's reaction completely unjustified? Let me in the comments.